Okay, so I got my rim system set up now. So here's my temperature control unit. So my keys are downstairs, it's dual stage, so I can do hot or cold. And this goes up in to here. This is a heat stick, which I can actually control the heat. This was very expensive, well, 60 bucks. So that's how I control my temperature. I'm going for my mash out now. My last temperature was 146, and I've begun my mash out. So basically, the wort comes out of here now. Got everything calibrated. And as you can see, the level comes through this hose into here, and then comes out here into the pump, back up into my mash tun, and there is the wort recirculating. And I also keep my temperature, my thermometer in there, just to always double check. And what I do is I'll put the towels back up on there just to enclose it fully. So that's basically my kitchen recirculation system. It comes out the bottom into the pump, back up. So I do use gravity, but then I pump back up. I started home brewing in the all graining in the garage, but then we moved, so I don't have access to a garage anymore. And I just prefer work going inside, indoors. It's so much better. Whether the wintertime with blowing wind and your propane expenses. In the summertime, bugs. When you're cooling your wort down after your whole hop schedule, and it's time to pitch your yeast. There was that one day which made me decide to change, and a bird flew into my area and just I'm assuming it could smell the wort because it smelled sweet and like the smell, and was just kept flying around my area. And of course, me and my brain microscopically, all the bugs and germs being kicked up by the wings flapping, and that was it for me. So I got myself a heat stick, and I do this. So at the same time, being inside the kitchen, you want to have something small and compact, because I have to take care of the wife. I can't leave this in my kitchen. It's not a dedicated space. And so basically, you'll see later on when I go to do my boil, I move up onto the stove with that heat stick in the stove, and I get a nice rolling boil, and I'm able to control my temperatures quite well. I'm inside and quite comfortable. So now I've begun my sparge. So there's the water. I got it at about 180 Fahrenheit, and it comes down that line into the pump and up into the mash tun. That's my sparge arm. You know, it's all smoky, and then it comes out the bottom, obviously, and into here. So I'll sparge about 11 gallons, and that's my sparge rate, and I may calibrate it. Once again, I keep my temperature probe in there. Sorry about the fog, everybody does it. And then I can either keep this open or close it, even cover it with the blankets, to make sure that my sparge, my mash temperature, never goes above 168, 170 Fahrenheit. So that's the sparge going on, and soon we shall see the boil. This is my heat stick, just a heating element. And you can, the way to do this is available online. Just YouTube search under, Google search under heat stick for making beer. So this will now go into the boil pot. This is the speed control, so I can control it to a nice rolling boil. So the heat stick was in there, controlling it, and then after it will go into the boil pot. The boil pot goes on top of the stove here. On the two elements, it stays within the diameter of the pot, so I got no flame coming off the side wasting heat. And with the heat stick immersed, I get a nice rolling boil. So now that's the full volume ready to go. As I said, there's the heat stick in there, and I go to the little pots. I go back and forth with the two and put it in there as I need. So now I used to sparge all the way up to there, so it's much lower now, but this has 2 liters of just straight water that was not sparged because I'm doing a 90-minute boil, and I do that to compensate for the about a half a gallon of evaporation, so that I can keep my the original gravity that I want. And I usually go for around between 5 and 6% beer. And so we're about to start our boil, and then so this, as I said, becomes sort of a small beer, second runnings. I mean, that's about 10-20 there. That's what it'll surface to be. And then I will boil it down into half, plus minus. I'll usually end up with about 3 liters of beer at between 10:30 and 10:40. And this is more of an experiment right now to see what happens. I'm gonna let this stuff age and crash it out. I actually don't even use Werflock pills because I figured with this I'm gonna see what the old school brewing was like, way back in the day when they didn't have the Werflock pills, or didn't know about the Irish moss that they could collect off the beach. So we'll see. Like I said, I've only done about 2 or 3 of these so far, and still very cloudy, but I'm going to put it in the fridge for 6 months to a year and see what happens. So the boil has begun. I hit the timer. And so I'm going to do, like, I time a 30-minute boil, and then I just start the 60-minute timer going for my hop addition. So there's the rolling boil. Well, you want to make sure with a rolling boil that you're moving the wort from the bottom up to the top. If it was lower than this, then you're not really circulating the wort, because you want all the wort to reach the surface and push out its off flavors, whether it's DMS or something else. And doing this heart sting, sort of, I know I'm referring to whiskey making, but kind of leaving behind those last runnings and not collecting everything, because I can get 90% easily. I always get 90% average. This will be more down towards 85%, 80, 85, whatever it turns out to be. But doing this where I leave back some and don't go for full efficiency, and also doing 90-minute boils. A lot of this, these little tips I actually got from Jim Kimmich from Heady Topper Brewing. A couple other videos too that I watch. This video that I'm posting does not show all the little details and little tricks that I do. So you see how that's really getting vigorous? That's too much of a boil. So you want, between a rolling boil, you want like the middle ground. You don't want too vigorous and you don't want too little. And then so I just adjusted my vary speed, and it's great. Like I say, I can just bring it down. If I had to, I can also turn my burner down on my stove, and so it takes a few minutes. So anyways, 90-minute boil has begun.